Hello and welcome to Everywoman. I'm Shuli Ghosh. On the programme this week, accused of abandoning Islam, paying the price for apostasy in Malaysia. Finland's President Tarja Halonen tells us why women are taking power. And meet the Gamma Girls, the US campus sorority with a difference. But we start with the story of Cindy Sheehan, the woman known to millions as Peace Mom, an anti-war activist who took on George Bush after her son died fighting in Iraq. She lost her son Casey in 2004. The following year, Cindy pitched a tent near President Bush's ranch in Texas. She camped there for weeks, demanding to meet him and calling for the withdrawal of American troops. But recently, she left the Democratic Party after Congress approved continued funding for troops in Iraq. And in May, it appeared she'd given up her fight when she declared it was time to go home and be a mother to her surviving children. Now, though, she's back. Cindy is taking part in a protest march to Washington, where she plans to run against the Democrat Nancy Pelosi, unless the House Speaker seeks impeachment for President Bush. Cindy's with us now to talk about her new campaign. Cindy, good to see you. Tell us about this march, first of all. What progress is it making? How many people are involved?
Well, we call it the Journey for Humanity and Accountability. We started in Crawford, Texas at Camp Casey. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. We have a couple dozen people who are actually caravanning and walking with us, but when we get to each city, we're joined by anywhere from 50 to a few hundred, and we're making our way to Washington, D.C. We'll be there on July 23rd, and then New York City on July 26th.
And the goal is to get President Bush impeached, but can that really happen?
Well, we believe that not only can it happen, but it must happen. George Bush has violated our Constitution. He's violated international law. His lies and deceptions are responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of people in Iraq, for destabilizing the Middle East with the refugee crisis, and with, hardline governments being elected in reaction to what George Bush is doing in Iraq. And he's broken many of our own laws here in America. And for future accountability for presidents who don't think they're above the law, and to bring peace, we believe George Bush must be impeached. And we believe it's the duty of the Speaker of the House and of Congress to fulfill their constitutional obligation.
And if that obligation isn't fulfilled, you're going to run against Nancy Pelosi. Are you a serious candidate, or is this just all for publicity?
Oh no, I'm absolutely dead serious. And if Nancy Pelosi doesn't do her job to hold George Bush accountable, then someone's going to have to hold her accountable. And
Cindy, I'm really interested in why you've taken up this campaign again, because in May you said you were giving up, you were going home. Why have you changed your mind?
Well, I also said that we were going to regroup and restore and rejuvenate ourselves and come back in a different way. We were planning on coming back in August, but when George Bush commuted Scooter Libby's sentence I think it was like the beginning of July, we just came back earlier. And we had always intended on coming back, just not in the same way we were going.
In May, you posted a message saying you wanted to get out before it consumed you. Isn't it still consuming you?
We did some intentional things to get the rest and rejuvenation. My health is restored. My spirit is restored, my energy is restored. And like I said, we had always intended on coming back, just not so soon.
What do your family think about this? What do your other children think about this?
My kids know that George Bush needs to be impeached and Dick Cheney needs to be impeached. My kids know that the war needs to end to save our soldiers and save the people of Iraq, to restore peace, and they want to have children, and I hope that they can bring my grandchildren into a better world than we have right now, and so they're with me on the fight.
I wanted to ask you whether you thought there were changes, a change of attitude in the US right now, because there seems to be more debate about withdrawing troops from Iraq. Do you see a change in attitude happening?
Well, I believe that since August of '05, when we camped in front of George Bush's ranch, that caused a sea change in my country of opinion about the war, of opinion about George Bush. It caused the grassroots change their attitudes. Congress is starting to catch up with them. But the people are also taking responsibility for our democracy. So I think we caused, you know, a country that wasn't even 50% against the war and against George Bush. Now we're about 70% against the war, and George Bush has approval ratings, you know, as low as 26, 27%.
Cindy, you've said you're in for the long haul. Do you see yourself having a normal life? Can things ever be normal for you again?
Well, that was, normalcy was destroyed for me on April 4th, 2004. My normal life was being a mother of 4 children and of having my life. I thought I would grow old with my husband, Casey's dad. I thought that we would have grandchildren, and that's ended on April 4th. So I was never going to be normal, have another normal life that was my normal. And now we have to make sure that other people are cared for and don't, you know, their lives aren't destroyed because of George Bush and his administration.
Well, Cindy, we'll be following your progress with interest, and I hope to speak to you again at some point in the future. Cindy Sheehan, thank you very much indeed. Now, earlier this year, we told you the story of Revathi, a woman born as a Muslim in Malaysia, but who wanted to convert to Hinduism. She changed her name, married a Hindu man and had a baby, at which point she was arrested and charged with apostasy and detained in a rehabilitation centre for 180 days. Now, Revathi has been released, but is still forbidden from living as a Hindu. In this exclusive interview, she and her husband Suresh spoke to Fauzia Ibrahim.
Dan 6 bulan saya duduk sana, pisahkan anak saya, pisahkan suami saya. Lepas tu ambil anak saya tanpa kebenaran saya. Dan dia orang kata semua Islam kan. Islam ni memang suci kan. Tapi kenapa orang Islam buat macam ni?
After 6 months in an Islamic rehabilitation center, Revathi Masusai remains defiantly Hindu. She was born Siti Fatima Abdul Karim to Muslim convert parents. Her official religion, as stated on her birth certificate, is Islam. But she's only known life as a Hindu, having been raised by her Hindu grandmother. She married Suresh in a Hindu ceremony in 2004. A year later, the couple had baby Divya Darshini. But family life was disrupted in January this year after Revathi tried to officially change her birth religion by opting out of Islam. She was arrested at the Malacca Sharia court, charged with apostasy and detained at a religious rehabilitation center. Divya was then put in the care of her Muslim grandparents. Last week, the Sharia court released Revathi into her parents' custody, saying she needed continued Islamic guidance. Al Jazeera was there to witness her first moments of freedom.
Saya memang tak boleh terima terus tinggal dengan mak bapak saya. Saya pun ada family juga, saya ada anak, ada suami juga. Walaupun perkahwinan kami belum disahkan, tapi mungkin secepat mungkin kami disahkan. Dulu pun saya 6 bulan dekat sana, bila saya merontak baru dia bawa anak saya tunjuk. Kalau tidak dia takkan tunjuk anak saya. Alangkah suami saya dekat luar pagar pun dia halau. Sedangkan macam ni lagi. Sebab tu saya tak boleh tahan.
Even though Revathi has gained her freedom, she is unable to live with Suresh as their traditional wedding is not recognized by the Islamic authorities. The couple have appealed the ruling, hoping to reunite their young family.
Kesan saya memang sakit hati lah pasal lama tak tengok dia kan, kesian dia punya anak kan, pasal dia dulu sama saya sama ada kan, lepas berkahwin. Kenapa mahkamah bagi macam tu 6 bulan? Dalam 6 bulan tu dia main susah. Dia pisah dengan anak dengan saya lah. Itulah saya minta ni lah.
Revathi, apa perasaan kamu? Perasaan saya memang tak puas hati lah sebab dia orang buat macam ni. Kalau dari dulu awal masa saya buat permohonan dekat mahkamah syariah, kalau dia orang kata tak boleh, dia orang kena beritahu 2 jam juga tak boleh. Dia orang tak boleh force saya, lepas tu dah rujuk, lepas tu dah naik mahkamah, then lepas tu dakwa saya macam ni terus automatik hantar dekat pusat tanpa kebenaran saya semua. Itu memang tak puas hati, itu memang kejam saya kata.
While at the rehabilitation center, Revathi said she was asked to attend Islamic courses and to pray 5 times a day according to Muslim rites. She refused and kept mostly to herself. Revathi said contact with her daughter and husband were restricted. Al Jazeera was on hand to witness an emotional meeting between her and Suresh during her detention.
அது பண்ண போகிறேன். பிள்ளை எடுத்தா நான் எடுத்த கூட நீ விட்டுருணும். சரி. Terima kasih ya.
Dan selagi setiap kali suami saya datang, dia orang buat suami saya macam barwa tau. Alau daripada pagar. Walaupun dia turun naik dekat mahkamah syariah nak surat kebenaran, tapi mahkamah syariah tak pedulikan dia. Dia orang pandang macam seekor anjing, dia orang pandang macam tu. Tak boleh buat manusia macam tu. Bila masa saya masuk dalam tu, memang jagaan saya kasih sepenuh pada suami saya. Saya yakin suami saya boleh jaga. Kenapa? Sebab anak saya masa lahir sampai saya mengandung, mak saya tak pernah tengok apa-apa pun. Anak saya macam mana rupa masa kecil pun tak pernah tengok. Ni dah lepas setahun lebih baru dia orang nak ambil. Sebab tu saya tak benarkan dia orang ambil anak saya. Tapi dia orang buat tipu macam tu, buat tanda tangan tipu macam tu. Sebab tu dia orang dapat ambil anak saya. Kalau tidak saya tak benarkan. Memang tak benarkan saya ambil.
Kenapa dia orang tidak cara yang baik? Boleh jumpa saya, minta saya cara baik. Saya boleh. Masa saya tidak rumah, dia orang ambil anak saya. Itu tidak patut lah. Saya memang tak patut.
Sekarang Suresh dan Revati nak buat apa sekarang?
Kita nak buat.
Saya nak fight saya nak tutupkan agama saya balik. Saya nak tutupkan itu.
Kita buat datang mahkamah.
Sebab 6 bulan saya duduk sana macam tak ada erti langsung. Memang tak ada erti.
6 bulan buat.
Waste my time. Saya punya orang kata apa, tanggungjawab saya seorang ibu, seorang suami, isteri kepada suami, semua habis. 6 bulan tak ada apa makna. Dalam Islam, murtad hanya 3 bulan saja. Lepas 3 bulan adalah hak individu. So, saya ada hak memilih agama saya. Dia tak boleh force saya lagi.
And we'll keep you updated on Revati's fight to reclaim her marriage and her life. Coming up, secrets of the sisterhood, the Muslim sorority keeping it together in the US. That's after the break.